Good morning, dear students. This is Sampat Bhadu, Assistant Professor of English, Government College, Sri Dungargad, Bikaner. Today, in this series of lectures, we are taking up a bachelor's complaint of the behavior of married people, composed by most lovable prince of English essays, Charles Lamb. Charles Lamb is a good friend of William Hazlitt. Charles Lamb was born on 10th February 1775 and died on 27th of December 1834. He was an English essayist, poet, and best known for his essays of Elia and for the children's book Tales from Shakespeare, co-authored with his sister Mary Lamb. Dear students, he adopted his pen name, that is Essays of Elia. Essays of Elia. Keep in your mind, don't forget, this is very, very important. Essays of Elia is often asked in your examination. The Charles Lamb's essays are known as Essays of Elia, his pen name. Friends with such literary luminaries such as Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Robert Southey, William Wordsworth, William Hazlitt, Lamb was at the center of a major literary circle in England. He has been referred to by E.V. Lucas, his principal biographer, as the most lovable figure in English literature. Dear students, Charles Lamb's biography was written by E.V. Lucas, and he is considered as the prince of English essays. Who is called the father of English essays? That is Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon is known as the father of English essays, whereas Charles Lamb is known as the prince of English essays. In this essay, he registers complaint against the behavior of married people. Charles Lamb remained bachelor lifelong simply because he kept himself at the service of his ailing sister, Mary Lamb. That's why he didn't get time to think about marriage. Particularly in this essay, he talks about the infirmities or the foibles or follies or weaknesses of the married people. In simple terms, we can say what he says that married people, they make a false show off of their love and affection, but actually they are not in love. They don't love each other so much so that they pretend, they show off. As a confirmed bachelor, Lamb has discovered a number of weaknesses in married people and has therefore found much consolation in his state of bachelorhood. What he says that throughout his life, throughout his experience, he has noted down many of the infirmities, many of the foibles of the married life, and that is why he decided to be bachelor in his life. He preferred the state of being bachelor. It is not the quarrels of husbands and wives that console him for having remained unmarried. What offends him at the houses of married persons is that they are pretending as they are in love. Lamb says that the married couple, they pretend to be in love and affection. Actually, they are not in love. They always wear a mask of affection and love. But behind the mask, they always quarrel at home. He has found that a husband and a wife constantly try to produce the impression that they are very fond of each other. This display of married happiness is an insult to a bachelor, according to Charles Lamb. If a man enjoys some monopoly, he should keep it as much out of sight as possible so that others may not question his right to the monopoly. But married people go out of their way to make bachelors conscious of the monopoly of marriage which they enjoy. The air of complete satisfaction which a newly married couple wear on their faces is especially offensive to Lamb. Here, Lamb talks about the newly married couple. That newly married couple extraordinarily make a show of their love, and they are offensive of the bachelors. They are repulsive of the bachelors. Married people often put on an expression of exaggerated self importance. They regard bachelors and as an ignorant and incompetent person. A young married lady once mocked at Lamb because he happened to offer an opinion about the most appropriate method of breeding oysters for the London market. She seemed to think that a bachelor could not be expected to have any knowledge of such matters. That how a bachelor could explain or make others understand how he can explain the breeding method of oysters. Lamb does not understand why married people should be excessively proud of their children. After all, children are not a rarity. Means giving birth to children is not an impossible task. In fact, the poorest people have the largest number of children, like worms in the streets. Of course, it's a kind of mockery at the married people. Yes. He satirizes here, he satirizes brutally the married people that the poorest people have the largest number of children. Then why do you feel proud of yourself being married? Besides, children often go wrong and prove to be a cause of much disappointment to their parents. Married people's pride in their children is therefore hardly justified. Married people are still less justified in expecting a bachelor to show a fond attention to their children. Why should a bachelor shower his affection on children? This is what he asked the question. That why should a bachelor shower his affection on children? But this is expected, very much expected by the married people. That when a bachelor comes to their house, he should shower affection on their children. But why? Here Lamb asks. If a bachelor shows too much interest in children, the parents quickly send them out of the room. A bachelor, therefore, finds himself on the horns of a dilemma in dealing with children. Should he or should he not adopt a loving attitude toward children? A bachelor finds in a dilemma, in a situation where he is not able to decide if he should, means if he should adopt a loving attitude towards children. What is to be the degree of affection to all their 8, 9, or 10 children? There is certainly a proverb, love me, love my dog. If you love me, then love my dog. It simply means if you love the married people, the married couple, then you must also love their children. But while it is possible to love a friend's dog or any other article that reminds a man of his friend, it may not be possible always to love a friend's children because children have a separate existence of their individual natures and temperaments. Lamb says that it has never been possible for him to feel affection for women and children indiscriminately or similarly. Very soon after getting married, a man tends to become indifferent towards bachelor friend, no matter how long was the duration of friendship before the marriage. This is a question. This is the complaint. The Charles Lamb gets registered that as soon as a close friend gets married, he becomes or she becomes indifferent. Especially he talks about himself for the male world that a person who is a good friend of someone else, as soon as he gets married, he makes a room, he separates himself, and he becomes totally in, indifferent towards the bachelor friend. No matter how long was the duration of friendship before the marriage, no wife can tolerate her husband's bachelor friend if the friendship dates back to her pre marriage days. No matter how long a man had been friendly with a husband before her marriage, she will so manage that her husband will before long become cool and distant towards the bachelor friend. So the wives are the magicians. They cast a spell over their husbands. And the husbands all of a sudden overnight they change their mind, their decision, and they quit their bachelor friends. Women adopt different ways to bring to an end and the friendship between their husbands and the bachelors with whom they may have had intimate relations before marriage. A wife may laugh with a kind of wonder at everything that her husband's bachelor friend may say. By her laughter, she may produce the impression that her husband's friend is an oddity or a humorist, not fit to be introduced to ladies. Means a bachelor's friend does not fit in the company of the ladies. That's why he should be expelled, should be left out. Or a wife may keep exaggerating the particular qualities of a husband's friend in such a way that the husband's enthusiasm for his friend cools down and he decides to leave. There is irony in this kind of exaggeration on the part of a wife. Yes, of course, dear friends, here is the irony. Here, wife actually does not exaggerate the qualities of a husband's friend. Rather, ironically, she exaggerates so that her husband gets cooled down. Her husband grows a sort of disinterest towards his friend. Another technique employed by or used by a wife is to ask with a kind of innocence towards him and become the basis of the friendship. By this method, a wife tries to make her husband feel that he was mistaken in his assessment of his friend's qualities. Bachelors invariably receive degrading treatment from married ladies. Means the bachelors are never treated well at the hands of married ladies. There was the case of a wife who kept lame though he was invited as a guest. She kept Lem waiting several hours for dinner because her husband had been detained somewhere else. This lady should have been considerate enough to serve dinner to Lem if the husband had been detained for 2 or 3 hours beyond the usual hour of dinner. But she kept Lem waiting for several hours. She did not serve him the dinner. That is why Lamb becomes angry and he registers the complaint that a bachelor doesn't have value in front of the married lady. Lady pretends to give more importance to their husbands, though he was a guest. But even then, he was kept waiting for several hours and he was not served the dinner. Then there was the case of a lady who passed on an excellent dish of Morelos to her husband. Morelos means a type of dark cherry. Means there is a discrimination in serving the dishes. A wife here, he is giving an example of a lady who served an excellent dish of Morelos to her husband and recommended a less tasty dish of gooseberries to Lem, who was guest at that house. Lamb protests against such discourteous treatment from wives and threatens to disclose their names if they do not amend or improve or change their manners in future. A wife ought to be informal with her husband, but she ought to show formal politeness to her husband's bachelor friend. Here at the end of the essay, Charles Lamb advises the married ladies that ladies should be formal towards their husband's bachelor friends. They should deal with the bachelor friends with the polite behavior in a formal manner, whereas they should remain informal with their husbands. Dear students, Charles Lamb's essays are known for humor and pathos. A note of humor and pathos runs through his all essays. Charles Lamb is known as Prince of Essays. Charles Lamb has published his essays in the name of Essays of Elia, Prince of English Essays, and a note of humor and pathos runs through his essays. These are very important points to be noted down. That's all for today, and have a nice day.